Never did finish this one. That's
Okay.
I'd like you this way, I'd like you that way. I don't mind if I have you at all. There isn't one way, that is the best way. All that matters is... Greetings. Welcome to Northern Michigan Musicians Journal. This is our very first show. We've recorded this late November 22nd, 2010. This show has taken a long time in the process. I thought about this 2 years ago. I want to make some special thanks to a few folks that helped me along the way. Jamie Perez, Ernie Mendel, and Mary Ferris. My name's Adolph Cwik, and I'm your host. This show is made possible by LIAA. That's an acronym, L-I-A-A. That stands for Land Information Access Association. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and their mission is helping people shape better communities through participation, education, information, and the effective use of technology. And if that sounds like a lot, they do a lot of other stuff. But what we're interested in, what they do here today and on this show, is they make it possible for people such as myself to make our own TV programming and videos. The Up North Media Center on US 31 in Traverse City houses LIAA, and they provide media training, equipment use, webcasting, and cablecasting to residents of Northwest Michigan. And this is free for persons living in the Traverse City area, and if you're outside their catchment zone, which I'm not exactly sure on, but you could give them a call, it's $50 a year membership outside of the area. Now the mission for Northern Michigan Musicians Journal is to bring to your attention the many unsung heroes that play for free on street corners, at nursing centers, and in coffee shops, to let you see this information and see the people play and contribute your own information. You can call us, you can write to us, tell us where there's an open mic, and certainly you're welcome to be a guest on the show also. For today's special show, I'm going to introduce my first guest, and before I interview her, she's going to interview me. And her name is Mary Ferris. She has her own company. She does videos, and it's called Video Inspirations. That's her business card. I tape it on my folder here so I don't lose it. And Mary can tell us more about her business after she interviews me. And thank you very much. Hello, Mary.
Yeah, thank you very much, Adolph, and welcome, and it's a pleasure to be on your first show.
Well, you're welcome.
And my first question to you is, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Detroit and only lived there till age 3. And then I moved to the suburbs in Westland, Michigan, and grew up there up until I was until I went away to college. And that was around Livonia. I went to Livonia schools, Middle Belt, and Ann Arbor Trail. And I was in the music scene down there.
How were you in the music scene?
Well, I started out when I was 9 playing the accordion. My dad wanted me to play the accordion. Okay. And sometime about a year or two later, the Beatles became very popular. And I still have the accordion. It's in its case. And my dad paid $500 for that accordion in 1962. And I still have the receipt in the case with the accordion. But I quit playing the accordion and wanted to do Beatle music. And it took a long time. Because they spent so much money on the accordion, I got all these crummy guitars, and finally I got a guitar that I could play. And I knew they existed because my friends had guitars that didn't make big grooves in your fingers. And I started playing, and I had my first band in 1966, I think it was called. We played at an activity night, and the drummer's drums weren't on a carpet, but he was on a box, and as he hit the bass drum, all the drums got closer to the edge until the cymbals fell off, and they closed the stage on us, and everyone in the band got free pop.
Okay.
But that was fun. So, and that was at Whittier High School in Livonia. Whittier's no longer around, but.
How has your style of music changed over the years?
I'd have to have someone else tell me that. I don't know. I've gotten better. I can't say that I play as well as I should, since I've been playing since I was around 12. I still like Beatles and sound very similar to the Beatles. I've gotten some newer tastes. I like Leonard Cohen a lot.
Okay.
And Chris Isaac, and well, I can name a bunch to you. But
When did you move to northern Michigan?
I moved to northern Michigan in 1995. I was married at the time. My ex had graduated from Boyne High School.
Okay.
And I moved to northern Michigan and started my own business with the move. In fact, for a while I was in Detroit, but I had the phone transfer, so you could call a northern Michigan number, but it would go down to Redford Township. And
what is your northern Michigan business, just to change the subject?
And sometimes it helps me buy more expensive music equipment, but I am a catastrophic claims case manager. Essentially, I help people with spinal cord and brain injury get the care they need, the equipment, make sure that the billings are proper, and submit them to the insurance company. I communicate with the insurance company, all the medical professionals. Occasionally, when there are lawyers involved, I'll communicate with the lawyer also. And on top of that, I'm a vocational rehabilitation counselor, and I help persons that have been in bad accidents find jobs. And in that respect, I also work with people that have been born with disabilities and people that have other diseases and illnesses and accidents on the job. I help people find jobs. I help them with their find out what their strengths and weaknesses are, and do a plan to help them go through school if they have to, or to find a direct job placement for them, helping them with their cover letters, resumes. It's a big, long thing, and it gets longer every year.
Okay.
So I do a little bit of individual and family counseling, and I've had mediator training.
Okay.
And I've also done Social Security, expert witness stuff.
Yeah, and then also talk about your appointment that you were on the Michigan Rehabilitation Council.
Oh yes, I'm very proud of that, and that deals also not with music, although I have played my guitar for the council before. It's the Michigan Rehabilitation Council, and it's a gubernatorial appointment. And the Michigan Rehabilitation Council oversees the annual state plan that Michigan Rehab Services has to follow. And we work closely with Michigan Rehab Services and go over changes that the federal government mandates, and also the changes in the economy and the demographics in Michigan, to make sure that people with disabilities get assistance in finding work.
Okay, very good. I know that you're a very gifted songwriter, so please talk about when you started writing songs and what were some of your first songs. And
well, when I had the accordion, I actually, before I had my first lesson, I made up my own music on it. Mm-hmm. And didn't have words back then, but I really enjoyed the Beatles and their words. And I must have wrote my first song in 1967 or 68. I have a booklet with, all of this, a lot of stuff I did in it. It says 1953, and it's got a dash after it because that's when I was born.
okay.
But it has some of my older stuff in it. I used to handwrite them in it before I had a computer. So yeah, I wrote something way back in '67, and I've replayed some of my older stuff and reworked them, and people like them, and they realize how old they are.
Okay, very good. Where do your ideas come from for a song?
I'm inspirational. I have trouble writing sometimes, and it'll hit me, and I will write it. Sometimes I force myself. Like in 1976, it was the bicentennial, and I had to write a bicentennial song. And then there are times when people have asked me to write songs for them. And they really didn't come out bad. But I have been inspired in some songs I've written in one sitting with no changes, sometimes very little or no changes in the words or the music. So the inspiration just is really cool when it happens.
Where do you perform regularly in the northern Michigan area?
Well, I live in East Jordan, so I do come out to Traverse City. It's a bit of a drive. I've played out here at the Farmers Market and at Aroma's coffee shop, but really focus more in Petoskey, Boyne, and East Jordan. I don't play solo always. I also play in a band. We've changed names through the years. Some of the guys that I play with, and sometimes I'll play bass with Ernie Mendel, who I mentioned before, and a band we used to call ourselves Flashback, with Fran Thiem and Lee Simons, and then Solution with Tina Williams and Lee Simons and John Slough. That was one of the more recent arrangements. And then this last summer, I played in East Jordan out in the park with Lee Simons and John Slough. And it went really good, and I had it all on tape, and I thought, boy, we played so good. And then finally, 2 days later, I got the tape, and I turned it on play, and it didn't come out. So
that must have been a riot.
And I have been playing every 4th of July at the Boyne River Duck Race, because I had, in fact, written a song about it. When Boyne had a song contest, I had written several songs, and one of them was the Boyne River Duck Race of 1988.
Okay, very good. What do you do in your spare time when you're not counseling or playing music?
Well, I have 2 poodles, standard poodles, Dr. Spalding and Dharma. And I've got quite a bit of land out near Lake Charlevoix. I have it used to be a pond. It's spring-fed now. The spring quit flowing, so I have a large mud puddle out there. But I have a boat, and I am a member of Somerset Point Yacht Club, in case anyone from that club is watching. So I like to go out on the lake, and when I'm not playing the guitar, I dabbled with artwork. I've once upon a time when I was married, the ex wanted me to decorate the house southwestern, and I really like those big steer skulls with the beads and feathers, but it's awful big, and it was $800. So I found a deer skull in the woods, and I mounted it on driftwood, and I put beads and feathers on it, and made it look like it was Native American, and it did really look good. But we used that in our house, and I liked it so much I started making them. And there was a shop in Plymouth, Michigan called the Native West Gallery, and I sold quite a bit there before I moved up here. And when I moved up here, I've had my stuff displayed in a few places.
Okay, very good. What would your advice be to a young musician or someone who wants to get into songwriting?
Well, if you want to get into songwriting, generally you would have written poems or written your thoughts on paper already. It would be a natural thing for you to do. Now, if you haven't done that, it doesn't mean you can't be a songwriter, but that's something you would want to start practicing. A lot of people don't like to read what their thoughts are or what they say. And I know a lot of the musicians I work with, when they read a song they wrote, they're just overjoyed with it, you know. And a lot of times, you know, I'm just amazed. And I says, how did I think of that? So that would be real important. You know, if you wrote poetry when you were younger, that's a good sign.
So do you think it's natural, or can you acquire it?
Well, again, like I say, if you really want to be a songwriter bad, You can acquire it, maybe, by really being disciplined and reading other people's stuff and trying to write something. And then it's real difficult when other people judge your work because a lot of times they won't like it. But it's not that it's not bad. So it's kind of a feeling you have to have, is that what you wrote is good, and you're willing to have people tell you that it stinks hundreds of times until someone comes along and likes it. So I think that's what a lot of us do, and some of us, they like it more often than others, and some of us are still waiting for someone to say, that sounds good.
Okay. Now you interview me.
Well, you know, there was some questions, though. Let's see, that you had to ask me. Mary had gone through Ann Landers and Dear Abby columns, and she had picked out, because there's people that ask musical questions. I mean, they've had advice columns for years, and find that one. Oh, there it is.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so we just found 3 questions that were relevant, but we will comb through them more for future shows.
Okay.
But go ahead, and those are the questions. There's 3 of them.
Okay. I want to be in a band, and since I thought of the idea, I want to start my own band. What should I do?
Okay, to start your own band, you need a few cooperative musicians who have equipment, transportation, and some talent. Transportation is quite often a big problem with musicians, and through the years, I recall one guy whose car had to be jumped whenever band rehearsal was over, and it was kind of a setup because sometimes he missed band rehearsal because he couldn't get a jump. But then you need a PA system. You got to be able to sing. You can't just play, and then you need a means to get your equipment and the PA system to the gigs. Someone has to have a van. I remember when I first got started, my parents would put stuff in the trunk, and one of the other guys in the band had to have his parents help out because there was too much stuff for one trunk. And you need a place to practice also. Having a place to practice is very important and sometimes very difficult. You have neighbors that complain, and you have to have a name for your band, or at least if you don't have a name, because getting a name for the band is I would recommend anybody watch that movie Spinal Tap that came out in the early 80s. That's really funny. I especially like the guy whose amp goes to 11,
yes,
so he could play one notch higher than all the other guys, because that's a real common thing that happens when you're jamming in the band, is especially rock and roll. Everyone keeps turning up until they can't turn up any further. Blow a few speakers, that kind of thing. Get the neighbors, call the police. But you need a name, or at least a business card, and you need a telephone and a telephone number, and you need an answering machine so that you can get calls when you're sleeping, because most musicians sleep all day. Well, that's not really true, but and then you have to decide who your audience is going to be. Certain musicians only want to play a certain kind of music, and if you get guys in the band that all want to do different music, you can't pick an audience, because if you play the wrong kind of music for an audience. I used to be in a wedding band, and we always started the night out quiet with Spanish Eyes and Girl from Ipanema, and get a feel for the audience and let the people that were opinionated to say, wow, they're quiet, they're nice, I like their music. And then slowly, by the end of the night, that's when we were louder, and that's when we played originals, and that's when the wedding party was usually drinking, and they didn't care what we did, and they liked us. There's other things that you'll eventually need as your band gets better, like a song list, outfits, choreography, and a following, groupies, and eventually even your own physician, like Michael Jackson. But you'll have to really be up there, but you can always dream. Is there another question?
Okay, ever since I got married, I found it difficult to go to a rehearsal. I love my music. What should I do?
Oh, okay. Wow. 80% of all bands fall apart when there's a girlfriend or a wife involved. And you have to have an amplifier at home and practice every night, and have your setting at least 5 or higher. And if your wife or girlfriend complain ever, you can always remind them that there's a rehearsal you could go to. That doesn't always work, but eventually she'll probably be glad to get rid of you for a couple hours once a week to go to rehearsal or wherever you want to go. And also getting a woman who loves music is a good idea. That's hard, but that would be the ideal idea, you know. And you can also have rehearsal at your house, so you don't have to go far. But then you got to wait for the guys to show up and make sure you have jumper cables.
Okay.
That one there.
I am in a band with fairly talented musicians, and we play a lot of songs. But they are all in the key of E. This really frustrates me, and I wonder what the audience thinks. What should I do?
Well, you know, I have a friend, a musician, fellow musician. I think he's right. He says that most of the people in the audience don't know what you're doing anyway, as long as you keep the beat and play and don't clash on the wrong notes too often. And only the musicians in the crowd might notice that you're playing all the songs in the key of E. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want them to blurt out, hey, how come all your songs are in the same key? When they play, you have to respect them and not blurt out, hey, you've been playing that song since you're 10 years old, you know, or, but that might work.
Okay.
That's a weird one.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mary. And now my next guest is Ernie Mindel, and he's all ready to play us a song before we get started. But wait a minute, that's not right. I have to interview Mary about her business first.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So, false alarm. All right, Mary.
Okay.
Thank you for bearing with me and interviewing me, and I almost skipped over you there.
Okay.
Now, you have a business. It's called Video Inspirations. And tell me how you got involved with Video Inspirations.
Well, I've always liked video and photography ever since I was young. And my late husband and I did a lot of photography for different businesses and that. And I became involved with videography to become more seriously with Baby Wesleyan Church, helping with filming the Sunday services at different times. Then I would like to say hello to Don Parker.
Oh, there's the audience right there.
Say hello to Don Parker and Kathy Wicker, who helped me get started, and I owe a lot to them. And then I became very involved with Leah because I was interested in TCTV2 at the time, and they were changing hands when the city wanted to pull out. And so Up North Media came into the picture.
So you came here to the Leah Studios,
yes,
and they helped you out. How did they help you out?
Well, I took the orientation. I've taken the field producer training, and
this is all free, right? You live in the area, so you don't have to pay the $50, right? Annually.
There are fees for the field producer training and the studio producer training, but it's all hands-on. And Joe was a great instructor.
Joe
Carter.
Joe Carter, okay.
And he's there every minute when you need an editing problem. And I would like to pay credit to Joe Torrance, too, who is often there to help you when you are in a editing problem. That he'll help both of them will help you solve any editing problem and tell you what to do, and they pull you out of messes, and so they're both great guys to work with. Oh, great, man.
Yeah, one of the good things about being on this show is that you, like relatives that you don't see like for 25 years, they'll say, hey, look, it's Adolf, he's on TV. He looks the same. Or old girlfriends or famous and rich people who are afraid of you can watch you in the safety of their screening rooms and theaters at home. And so, Mary, where are some of your favorite places to go videotape? I mean, you have a general audience that you're focusing on. You sometimes charge for your services, but you do a lot of community work.
Yes, I do.
Why don't you tell us about your community videos?
I have done videos in the past for Baby Wesleyan Church that I did. Home is Where the Heart Is, an incredible play by Anita Carlson and Tammy Tarza, original that was our dinner theater last year. And I also am very strong involved with Toastmasters too.
Oh, Toastmasters, that's a big one.
Yes, and I'm currently serving as Vice President of Education. I want to say hi to everybody
right there
at the Toastmasters, and please don't punish me too much if I am saying ahs, ers, and ums.
Someone's counting them. They have an ah counter. I went to Toastmasters.
Right.
I recommend Toastmasters to anybody who wants to improve their confidence and their speaking skills. I have to apologize that I'm a dropout, but what little I did go helped me, and I think Toastmasters is good.
Yes, and I did a video for them too, featuring our former President Bill Fisk and our current Area 14 governor, and also some area directors and our international director at the time, Crystal DiCarlo, and that played very well. And I also have done a lot of disability type programming for the Disability Network of Northern Michigan, and currently involved with Andre's Place for physically challenged artists. That
you have a sort of emphasis in.
Yes.
And so if there are people that need videos done that are affiliated with the Disability Network or just have disabilities but they have ideas.
Right.
Weren't you going to do something having to do with the handicap access areas in the city of Traverse City?
Yes, that's a future project I'm working on with the Disability Network, and where we're looking at beach accessibility for people who have handicap access, who are in wheelchairs, walkers, or they're using white canes for visually impairment. And we're also doing a park survey too, like out at Twin Lakes 4-H camp, and then some of the other area parks that deal with handicap accessibility issues. And
so I know you've videoed me at the farmers market and
That's
at the
right.
coffee shop, but name some other folks that you've that relate to this show, in fact, that do solo guitar work.
yeah, I have videotaped my friend who is now in the Ohio area, DJ Phelps. She calls herself Little Country DJ.
What
And
does DJ stand for?
Donna Jean.
Donna Jean, okay.
So, and I've also worked with John Pomeroy, who also works under the name Johnny P at different open mics.
I remember Johnny. He was really good. That was at Aromas, right?
Yes, and he's also a worship leader at New Hope Community Church too.
Ooh, okay.
And he played the telethon. And also I've worked with Rob Johnson down at Kilkenny's. And
Yeah, Rob Johnson's back in town. He's actually back from the Florida Keys. He's in Warren now.
yeah, he's back in the state.
Yeah, back in the state.
Okay.
Who else? Anybody else? There was a band that you did not long ago. I called them, in fact, about the show.
It was Joni Stanley and the Blue Shadow Band, where she does a great Patsy Cline impersonation, and she played Patsy at the Old Town Playhouse, which was incredible.
Yeah. Okay. You have your own corporation, right? You're
Yes,
established in
small business.
small business, and you went through SCORE.
That's right.
And who else did you work with to get that established?
I also worked with the Small Business Technology Development at Michigan Works and its Council of Governments. And
Oh, okay. SPTDC.
yes.
Small Business and Technology.
Meg Havenga.
Okay, Havenga.
Yeah.
Yeah, Meg. Yeah, yeah. They're very helpful if you want to start your own business.
Yes, they
Maybe
are.
not in videotaping, but well, Mary, I'm going to give out your phone number. Videotaping, but well, Mary, I'm going to give out your phone number and your email address. I think I can do that. Is that right? That's
no,
not right,
it's,
is it?
charter.net.
Okay, maryferris@charter.net. And that one, or that one?
That the second one.
Okay. Yeah, if you need videotaping, Mary's phone number is area code 231-392-5964, and you can send her an email also at MaryFerris, Mary
It's
Ferris.
mary.net.
Mary Ferris at Charter.
Mary.Ferris.
Oh, Mary.Ferris. No wonder my emails never go through. Mary.Ferris, Ferris, at charter.net. So she has 2 dots in her email address. Duck race of 2010. My name's Adolph Cwik. It's nice to be here again. I'll be playing my folk song, the Boyne River Duck Race of 1988, again in a few minutes. But first, the Willie Nelson tune. On the road again, I just can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends. I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again, seeing places I have never been, seeing faces I may never see again. I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again, like a band of gypsies, we go down the highway. We're the best of friends, insisting that the world keep turning our way. And our way. On the road again, I just can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends. I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again, like a band of gypsies, we go down the highway. We're the best of friends, insisting that the world keep turning our way. On the road again, I just can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends. I can't wait to get on